Okay. We're live. Hi, everyone. I don't know. What? I don't know. What's going on with the world? Okay. For those who don't know, I don't know that there's anyone on Earth that doesn't know by this point, but in case you don't know, the President of the United States turned the White House lawn into a Tesla showroom today. There were multiple Teslas outside. He talked about how he was buying a Tesla for his granddaughter, and he and Elon sat in the Tesla and yada, yada, yada. The amount of laws that he violated, and I'm not going to worry too much about getting into the legalese. Yeah, there's multiple laws violated today, emoluments and abuse of power, a bunch of different stuff. At this point, who cares about anything? I mean, who cares about anything? At this point, if the President of the United States can just sell cars on the White House lawn, who cares about anything anymore? Anyway, good evening. How are you?
Salesman. He really does give used car salesman, though.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, if he was just like Guy and not whatever.
The leader of the free world. Well, I mean, not for much longer. The U.S. is definitely slipping in that regard.
Sure. However, here's the thing. Somebody brought up something about this I want to address. And I want to address this right at the top of the show so that we don't get a bunch of comments on it. Because this sort of thing has happened in the past. This is not the first time that, head of state, however you want to say it, has been, around not just vehicles, but, signs of national ingenuity, right? For instance, I'm going to share this real quick. I got to find the right thing because, of course, it hates me and it's very difficult to find whenever I want to share something. There we go. This time, Hitler visits automobile plant, Berlin, June 7th. So to say that what Trump did today was somehow novel, of course, it's happened before. I mean, it's not the first time that a Nazi has helped sell cars. And for anyone that's saying that it is, you're totally wrong. I'm kidding. I mean, I'm not kidding. I mean, obviously Hitler really did visit an automobile plant, but we'll do something real. I'm sorry to everybody. I'm sorry to all the Nazis. It just got offended. I'm not. Okay. So famously, everybody knows the first car in the White House was bought for President. Do you not know? Oh, I thought you would know. I just thought you would know. I thought you would know.
No, I don't actually.
Okay, that's fine. I thought you'd know off the top of your head. This kind of thing that you're like into this stuff. So I just figured.
I am, but like that is like I'm not into cars. So
it's fine. It was President Taft. So Henry Ford's Model T. Now, here's something that's very, very, very important. Congress appropriated $12,000 for the purchase of 2 White House motor cars. So it wasn't like, the Ford Motor Company just gave a car to the president and then the president was like, oh, buy Ford cars because, and he didn't pay for it with his own money. It was something that Congress appropriated.
And Congress has power of the purse. So.
Absolutely. And then the cars had the symbol on it. There was one that was given to First Lady Taft that was a smaller car. The bigger vehicle was given to President Taft. It was it says it here. I don't know why I'm trying to remember it. It was 40 horsepower, and it was like a 7-seater. I'm sorry. It's in here somewhere. It's on the screen. If you're watching later, you want to pause, you can read it. So there's people out there that are saying, well, this has happened before. This happened before. Okay. Congress appropriated money so that President Taft could have the first presidential car. Sure. That's not the same thing as Elon and Trump sitting in Teslas on the front lawn and Trump saying, I'm going to buy one for my granddad. Those aren't the same fucking thing.
And we all know why it happened. Because since December, Tesla has lost like half of its share value.
Roughly. Yeah. It recovered a little bit after the stunt today. It did recover a couple of percentage points, but we're going to talk about that too. So we're going to get to the Tesla stock price in a second because I have to quiz Kitty on something.
Oh,
Kitty.
No. What?
Kitty, what president was the first president to fly in an airplane in office?
Oh, fuck me.
Kitty. Who was the first president?
FDR.
It was FDR on the Douglas VC 54C, the Sacred Cow. Which is weird. This is so weird that all of this happened today because I was watching, randomly, other videos, like travel videos today. And one of the videos that just came up that I just randomly clicked on was a visit to the National Museum of the United States Air Force. And he toured, he didn't tour this as much. He just toured the outside of it. He toured President Kennedy's plane, like thoroughly, like actually walked through it and showed where they put the casket when he died and everything. But this is at the museum. So, I mean, this was part of the video. I think he mentions it for like 3 seconds. But yeah, in 1943, President Franklin D. Roosevelt was the first U.S. president flying an airplane while in office. It was Navy owned, but civilian operated. Okay. And don't think this goes into it. I read about it somewhere else. But again, Congress appropriated the funds. It was Congress that, right, Congress approved government money paying for the president's plane. Sorry, I have a dog rubbing all over me while I'm trying to talk. This is what he does during the show. So if you see me like moving awkwardly, there's literally 100-pound carnivore just below frame, just all over me as I'm trying to talk. Apologize. I love him very much. He's a good boy. He just wants attention. But the point is that it was, I can get this off screen. It was not
on the other side.
It was not FDR. Here you go. It's fine. Who cares? Who cares about anything? The whole point of today is who cares about anything?
Nothing matters anymore.
Nothing matters anymore. The point is that Congress appropriated the money so that the president could buy not that the president could buy a plane, so that the federal government could buy a plane for the president's use.
Which is not the same as doing ads.
It's not the same as
close.
Sitting in a car with Elon Musk on the White House lawn. There's a poll I'd like you to vote in. So we had a couple of questions. Yes, April, more Ma and Pa MAGA is going broke for billionaires. We had a question on Blue Sky. So I put in the thumbnail in the description, Swasticar with a C. Some people think that it should be Swasticar with a K. There were suggestions to do it with triple Ks, and that's as close as I'm going to get to it. I decided not to do that because we're on YouTube, and I figured YouTube would probably see that and flag it, and so that's not an option for YouTube. That's probably the most appropriate spelling, but for YouTube, that's not. We're not going to do that. Oh, dogs are omnivores. It's true. I'm sorry. Did I say carnivore? He's more of a cheesivore more than anything. This guy loves cheese. I have to pay cheese taxes to him constantly. He is trying to say hi to Auntie. He made friends today. He made some new friends outside who wanted to say hi to him. So he did make new friends today. Oh, wait. I was trying to remove that. Okay. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Tesla stock prices and 401ks. Again, I know this is boring. I'm not going to get deep into it. It's what I do for a living, so I know about this stuff. One thing to remember about the Tesla stock prices is, if you'll remember, about 5 years ago, Elon was very mad about short selling. Do you remember this?
Roughly.
You would vaguely remember it. I remember it
Yeah.
very keenly because this is what I do for a living, and
Yeah,
so the
I'm not
markets.
a finance
Right.
bitch.
No. I get it. I get it. So short selling is when you can buy a stock in either direction. You can buy a stock and say the price is going to go up, or when you buy the stock, you can say I think the price is going to go down, and that's short selling. There's long and short. If you think it's going long, it's going. You think the price is going to go up. You think if you buy it short, you think the price is going to go down, and you don't buy, you sell, blah 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 blah. Again, if you know about finance, you know that there's some things that I left out there. Did that on purpose because I'm trying not to bore everybody else who doesn't care about any of this stuff. My point is, Elon several years ago went on this huge crusade against people who were short selling Tesla, and that people who short sell Tesla are evil and they're anti-American and all this stuff. Well, the people who have been holding Tesla short just made buku bucks over the past week or two, however long it's been since the crash started. And in that interview last night, if you saw it, where Elon started to get emotional, I know that this is killing him inside, that all the people that think that because you short sell a stock when you think that the stock is overvalued. If I think that, I do the calculations and I look at all the different financials and everything, and your company is currently selling at 300 on the stock market, and I say, well, by my calculation of the valuation, it should only be worth $250. So I'm going to short sell it because I think everybody else is going to agree with me. I think more people are going to agree with me than agree with you. And over time, it's going to go down. The price is going to go down. That's what a short seller would say, right? I'm buying it short because I think I think it's overpriced right now. Elon got super emotional in that interview last night because he knows that the short sellers are winning, and they are winning so big right now. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that when the short sellers, you have to buy a stock back. So if I buy your company short and it goes down, I have sold your stock. And to make my money, I have to then buy your stock in order to get my returns, right? To get the money that I got for guessing right. So when they buy it back, the price goes up. So what I believe is the price going up since Trump and Elon were in the car today was a bunch of those short sellers buying the stock back to make their money, to cash out of their positions. That's why I think the stock went back up. Not because Tesla has recovered. I think the Tesla stock will continue to go down tomorrow. I might be wrong, but that's what I think. Okay, so Kitty votes to call it a POS instead of a Swasticar or a Swasticar. Okay.
I thought that was reserved for the Cybertruck, though.
It might be the Cybertruck only is the POS. That could be right. Andreas says, don't vandalize them. The dealers might get insurance payout or tax write-off as damages. The worst case scenario is inventory rusting in the dealer's lot. I am against all vandalization and violence of any kind. I'm a Taoist. So I would say don't vandalize anything. As I wrote on Substack the other day, I wrote about John Lewis. John Lewis is an American icon, a civil rights icon, and John Lewis never engaged in vandalism or violence of any kind throughout the entire time that he supported civil rights and was fundamentally successful in getting the Civil Rights Act passed and other things passed throughout his career. He did get arrested 45 times throughout his life, got arrested a bunch, but he never engaged in vandalism, never engaged in violence, and he still won. So I don't believe that vandalism and violence has a place. I think that you can win without it because there's many times when we have. But you also make a good point. If you vandalize the cars on the lot, they could get an insurance buyout for the property. So you look like you want to say something.
No.
Okay.
You do your thing. Just kind of agree to disagree. Like physical violence is, I think that is very different than vandalism. Like
Sure.
I personally don't see the harm in, like, obviously in this case you don't want them making money off of it, but I mean, when you have like ecological activists that will remove batteries or like damage like things that are going to be, say, like damaging a reservation or like a preservation, and they will damage the vehicles to stop them from like
Oh,
doing that.
sure. Sure.
So it's like I do believe that there are times, but I do draw the line at physical violence against other people. That should only
Sure.
be safe for self-defense. But destroying property, I think there's a time and a place.
Right. Okay.
But it's, it shades of gray. Like, it's
Oh, it's for
complicated.
sure. And I understand. I mean, I don't, we disagree. This is one of the things that we disagree on. But I get it. When people, when they feel like that's their only avenue of expression, I understand it. I don't ever like it, but I understand when it happens because people are like, well, my vote doesn't matter. My dollar doesn't matter, and nothing changes. And I don't have any other routes to improve my situation. So what am I supposed to do?
Stonewall was a riot.
Stonewall was a riot.
And I mean, it worked.
Sure.
So, again, it's complicated and it's multifaceted, and
Sure.
you have
Caveat,
to try
caveat. Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
exactly. Like, tons and tons of asterisks on that. Like, it's not a blanket statement. Like, it is a case by case basis. But Stonewall was a riot, and it was incredibly effective.
Right.
And it really did create the momentum for societal change that they're trying to take us back from now, which is really frustrating.
John Brown was responsible for a bunch of people dying, but he's also been called the meteor for the war and the father of abolition. I don't agree. I don't like the fact that he went and got people killed and tried to literally start a slave uprising. I mean, that was John Brown's goal, was to start a slave uprising. But it had to work. Kitty says she posted a link about Tesla trying to falsely apply for EV rebates in Canada. Where did you post that, Kitty? Because I don't see it. So tell me where you posted it, and I will take a look.
Discord, maybe?
Go ahead. What'd you say?
Maybe they did it in Discord.
Yeah, I'm saying I'm looking in Discord. I don't see it, so that's why I was asking where she put it. Aunt Jur. I said aunt, not aunt. She's so pedantic. She's so pedantic that I have to be very exact. I heard Bologna does something special to the surface of cars. I want to know what happens for science. Oh, I've never heard of this. Never heard of this. No, I don't know what you're talking about, Aunt Jur. Aunt Jur, Aunt Jer, Jar.
Like, who knows? Whether it would damage a paint job or anything.
No, I can't imagine it would do that.
I wouldn't know.
It just turns your car into a pretty sandwich.
Yeah, like, hey, maybe it'll give it submersible powers, like a submarine.
Oh, sure. No, Andreas, I understand. It's just that I personally, because of the philosophy that I hold, I don't ever ascribe to vandalism or violence being the right way to make change. Other people disagree with me. I've had these debates my whole life. Trust me. Kitty disagree. Obviously, I mean, we just had a disagreement on it. So I'm not saying that I'm right. I'm just saying that it's one of the areas where that's for me, right? That's how I feel about things. Totally respect people who disagree with me. 100%. April says, batshit and any animal that eats stone fruits. What are stone fruits? I don't know what stone fruits are. You have to tell me.
Peaches, apricots.
Oh, are those? Oh, a fruit with like a pit in it.
Yeah, like peaches, apricots, plums.
Right. Okay, because they call them April is those people in Australia, and those people call them stones instead of pits. That's all. They don't differentiate where they poo, though. Yeah, I think it would be hard to like hold a pooping bat over a car and like squeeze the poop out. That's another thing that I would not suggest anyone do.
Yeah, animal cruelty. Like we do not condone.
Don't do that. Like, I don't know, park a Tesla next to like a bat cave and hope, maybe. I don't know. If this is your planned way of resisting, protesting. But yeah, don't try to squeeze bats to get them to poop on things, please. It's another thing I don't support. I don't advise pissing off Jer. I mean, I don't either. I love Aunt Jer, very much. I love that she's pedantic to me. It's my favorite thing. I love it so much. Kitty says, I tagged you in the server. Well, if you tagged me in the server, then it was ages ago, and I've already forgotten where it was. I get tagged a lot, so it's hard for me to keep tracks of tags after like 5 minutes. So just just wherever it is, just retag me. I'll grab it. We'll look at it real quick. I don't think anyone has ever been afraid of pissing me off. I'm afraid of pissing you off. You're terrifying. I believe that you could harm me, even from there. Like you've got like abilities. Oh my God, I forgot to tell you about this.
The mind bullets.
This is a real thing that happened yesterday. Was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday. I was sitting here and I was like a little bit cold, and I said, "Oh man, I'm cold." And as I said that, my space heater turned on. So I do believe that I have latent superpowers. As soon as I figure out how to control these motherfuckers, I am telling you, I am going to be turning on space heaters everywhere all the time just for funsies. Completely ignore the fact that my space heater has a thermostat in it. And so it could also detect the air temperature, as could my skin, and that it was just coincidental that as I said out loud, I'm cold, it was also cold enough to trigger the thermostat on my space heater for it to switch on. That doesn't matter in any way, shape, or form. The truth is that I have superpowers now, and I am coming for your space heater. That sounded really bad. Okay, hold on. Hashtag new kink. What I meant to say was, I think Kitty's dead. What I meant to say was, I am, it's a really nice space heater. I don't know what to tell you. It's just, it gets me really hot. Sorry. I can't even see. All right. Okay, we're definitely gonna have to clip that later. All right, so let's see. Oh, this went to the wrong window completely. Let's see what we're gonna just share. Kitty just shared this with me, so we're just gonna. I'm gonna read this live. We're doing a live. There we go. Nope. There we go. Okay. Suspicious Tesla sales surge triggers Canadian government investigation. Tesla reported 8,600 sales in 3 days. Wow. That's I need to turn. Canadian officials are investigating an unusual spike in Tesla vehicle sales that coincided with the suspension of the federal EV rebate program in January. Over a 3-day period, Tesla reported selling 8,600 vehicles at 4 locations across the country, resulting in $43 million in government rebates. One Tesla location in Toronto reported more than 1,200 sales on January 11th alone. Now, I could see maybe like all of those were sold like that month so far, but they all just got reported on the 11th, like, or that was from, maybe those were all the ones that were sold in December and they didn't get reported till January 11th. Like I could see, I'm trying to give benefit of the doubt here, but that still seems a little shady.
Yeah, more than a little. Like my brother-in-law works at a car dealership, and yeah, like that, like just like just volume in a day, like is not normal.
I mean, my brother sold, I've never sold cars. My brother sold cars. And there were probably 8 salespeople at the dealership he worked at. So, hey, Google, what's 1,200 divided by 8?
1,200 divided by 8 is 150.
So you think all of those salespeople selling 150 cars each in one day? I mean, maybe a fleet customer.
Yeah, but I mean, also, like, when did the sales supposedly happen?
It doesn't say. It just says that one location in Toronto reported more than 1,200 sales on January 11th alone. So it's one dealer or one showroom, however they do it. I don't know how they do it. But one dealership doing 1,200 sales. No, it doesn't. Well, it just says that it was reported on that day. It doesn't say that, those sales were all done on that day. It's just that's when those sales were reported. So mayhaps, all of those cars were sold in December, but it was just reported on January 11th. But that means if they had 8 salespeople, which is probably pretty typical for a dealership, each of them sold 150 cars in a day.
I mean, like, that's like more than a dealership will usually sell across everybody. Like 100, selling 100 cars in a day is not like that's a lot.
I mean, you'd want to sell 100 cars in a year. I think my brother always tried to sell 12 cars a month. That was his goal, was 12 cars a month. He rarely ever hit that, but I mean, that was his, and there were times when he would sell more. I mean, that's sales for you. You see the kind of month I'm having. Anyway, well, by the way, if anybody wants to buy some life, no, I'm just kidding. But I think he would try to sell 12 cars a month because that was 3 cars a week, and that was was 3 cars a week. You got to sell 3 cars a week. That's 12 cars a month. So these guys are selling 150 in a day each salesperson. I mean, that is, I don't know. Again, maybe it's a fleet customer. I don't know what kind of fleet customer. Fleet customers don't usually go through dealerships, right? Like Enterprise Rent-A-Car doesn't go down to the local dealership and work with a salesperson. Like they work
go above them.
Yeah, they work with the manufacturer directly. I mean, they've got no one would do that. Yeah, that seems odd. Kitty, thank you for sharing that. That seems really, really odd. Andreas says, I bet Trump will bail out Tesla when it gets worse. Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's going to try.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
And
for sure.
It's Doge. Like they're coming for Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid and food stamps, the government waste, but they're not touching the substantial subsidies that Elon gets.
Oh, absolutely not. Or any of the defense contractors, of course.
Yeah, or that.
Northrop Grumman's fine. Boeing, they're not touching their money at all. They're only touching poor people's money and disabled people's money. Aunt Jer says, you and JD Vance are going to open up a home furnishing sex store. Hey, man, if they got those space heaters. I'll tell you what, I do fucking love my space heater.
I mean, I love mine too.
I mean, I do love I don't love it that much because that would mean blisters in places that
don't want blisters.
You don't want blisters. Trust me, I've had a lot of STD. Oh, fuck. I'm just kidding. Yeah, trust me, you don't want blisters there.
No.
Kitty says the car lot is not big enough. Well, that too, kid. That's a great point too. There's no way that you can.
Even a Tesla dealership wouldn't have like that many cars on a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I would say most dealerships try to keep it under probably 200, something like that. I mean, it depends on how big the property is. And of course, in larger metropolitan areas, you're going to have more cars, yada, yada. I'm sure Ford dealerships in Atlanta have more cars than, the Asheville Ford here. I mean, the Asheville Ford has probably 40 cars on the lot. I mean, it's not a very big dealership, but it's Asheville. There's 90,000 people live here. So, but yeah, 1,200 cars. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah, very weird. Very, very weird.
That's-
Kitty says CRA is more independent from the government here in Canada too. Elmo will have to pay that money back with interest. Oh,
That's good.
you know, yes, I agree with you. Yes, absolutely. They are also, you've got to understand, and we've talked about this a lot on the channel. We're going to keep talking about it because it's the main thing that needs to just be talked about by everyone all the time, everywhere right now. So we're going to keep talking about it constantly. This is all the plan. The plan is to break apart every government on the planet. Break up every government and break up all of the economies, because the tech bros want to create libertarian fiefdoms called network states. If you don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, I've written like 3 or 4 articles about it on my Substack. Just go read any of them. It sounds like, my dad commented the other day on one of them about a sci-fi story that he read as a kid that was very similar to this. Another one that's very similar, a lot of people know, is Atlas Shrugged.
Yeah.
Atlas Shrugged is very similar, and people are like, "Oh, Elon Musk is would be a hero in Ayn Rand books." Don't understand Ayn Rand books, because Elon would be the villain. Atlas Shrugged is kind of like Lolita. Lolita is more satirical. I mean, the guy that has sex with Lolita at the end of the book gets run over by a car. I mean, obviously, like Lolita, he's obviously the bad guy. But Atlas Shrugged is similar in that you start the book reading like, is this just some person that loves capitalism? Like, what is the point of this book? And then as you read the book through, you're like, oh, this is satire.
I don't know. Ayn Rand did have some pretty wild.
I'm not talking about Ayn Rand. I'm talking about Atlas Shrugged specifically. We can have a whole Ayn Rand show sometime, because yes, I think Ayn Rand, a lot like J.K. Rowling, kind of morphed as she made money. And I think Atlas Shrugged is a very different viewpoint on things than she had later in life. And she should have leaned into the satirical thing, and she could have been like a Douglas Adams kind of writer. Seriously, I mean, Atlas Shrugged has some things in it where you're like, okay, that's pretty funny. If you look at it as satire, if you look at it as dystopian libertarian vision, of course, it's not. But
Yeah.
We can do a whole show on that sometime. We should do a different time, because I'm going to get too
I have
deep.
to reread it. I haven't read it since middle school.
Yeah, you should reread it. And read it as satire. Like, if you read it as satire, it's very, very, it hits a lot different. Which, again, I think was the original intent of the book. And then she got famous in some circles and money changed her. And I think things, again, we can do a whole show about Ayn Rand sometime. Anyway, my point is, they want to break every government. And I wrote about this on Blue Sky today, and I'll probably write about it like every day from now on. Every government on Earth is in danger right now from these guys. It doesn't matter where you live. It doesn't matter who your premier or your religious leader or who your prime minister is. These guys, what they believe is that whatever government you're in, whatever its structure is outdated and needs to be deleted. All governments everywhere, gone. Not because the fear for a long time was that globalists would create a one world government with one person at the head. Oh, no. They want to create network states. They want to balkanize the earth to break the entire earth up into little tiny nations that they rule. And as Curtis Yarvin said in a Formalist Manifesto, a show we did a few weeks ago, the people who live in these network states should have no say over what rules govern them. And you're like, who's Curtis Yarvin? Okay, Curtis Yarvin is held as a guru by Peter Thiel, Andreessen, Elon Musk, all of the guys that are like actually making the decisions about Doge and what's being taken apart in the US federal government. all of them hold Curtis Yarvin as a hero, as the man whose philosophy they all follow. So that's why you need to know who Curtis Yarvin is, because Curtis Yarvin is the reason that they're trying to take away your Social Security and your Medicare and your Medicaid and your disability, because they want to take that away so that you get violent and you revolt, and the US breaks up, which then crashes the global economy, which breaks up all of the other nations on Earth, that they can then rule over you.
And basically take Shadowrun and Cyberpunk 2077 and smush it together and put it in an abomination blender, and that's it.
Each one of these network states would be run by its own personal corporation. And the people who support that corporation are known as gray shirts. And you would wear your gray shirt. I'm not making this up. It sounds like I'm just making this up off the top of my head, but this is the plan. The gray shirts will wear literal gray shirts with the logo of the corporation that they work for and support. And you may have like 3 different corporations, each in one network state, and you'll wear your gray shirt around to show your support for the company that you work for that makes all the decisions about your life, when you work, what you work, how you get paid. You wouldn't get paid. There's crypto is the funding mechanism,
it's just taking corporate towns and making it even more dystopian and adding a cyberpunk veneer to it because, they're techno-fatalist bullshit.
Yes. And Andreessen, if you want to know why Trump, you know how Greenland, like just all of a sudden Trump started talking about how we need to take Greenland, and it just like came out of nowhere and you're like, what the fuck? Why is he talking about Greenland? That's because Andreessen has said multiple times in public that he wants Greenland to run as his own network state. He is a head advisor for Doge. He got the idea for the U.S. taking Greenland into Trump's head somehow, probably through Don Jr., maybe through Elon. I don't really know. Doesn't really matter. So that the U.S. could take Greenland, so that when the U.S. crumbles, he can go take Greenland and run that as his network state, because that is his dream.
It's depressing.
But, at least you can sell Teslas on the White House lawn now. Yay.
Can we go back to talking about the space heaters? That was at least
We should talk more about space heaters. This is depressing. I said I wanted to have sex with a space heater earlier. I didn't mean to, in case you just got here. In case you just got to the show in the last couple of minutes, earlier, I said something very sexual about my space heater. I didn't mean to. It just kind of...
one of those, you don't, depending on how you squint at it, it can be one
I didn't
thing
mean
or the other.
That's not what I meant. I didn't say it about my space heater. I said it about everyone's space heater, which actually is worse, because then space heater could then be like a euphemism, and then what did I really mean? Anyway.
And I died. I was just laughing. I could not breathe. Tears. It was funny.
So that happened earlier, and then we started talking about all this fucking depressing shit. How's your day? Do you think it should be Swasticar with a C? Let's get to the important questions of the night. Should it be Swasticar with a C or Swasticar with a K, guys? Let's forget all this network state bullshit and talk about the real issues. Should it be Swasticar with a C or Swasticar with a K? Kitty, go.
K, but, my name starts with a K, so I'm biased.
Oh, we have a question from Atheist Miracle. What do you think about Gavin Newsom flipped on the trans athlete debate? Listen, I was all over Blue Sky about it. My feelings have been made very, very clear, but we have not spoken with the actual LGBTQ person that's on the show, whose opinion matters much more than the cishet person's on this whole thing. So I'm going to shut the fuck up. Kitty?
Honestly, I didn't hear about this. I have been more selective in the news that I...
oh, really?
So, yeah.
Do you...
No. So
I wrote about it on Substack.
I didn't go on Substack.
Hold on.
I again, I've been very selective because I felt
You're
myself
fine.
falling back into old
I
patterns.
understand.
No, in 2016, I was minute to minute, like reading every bill,
I
following
remember
every
because you
headline.
would. Oh, not 2016. We weren't friends yet in 2016. I thought you meant 2020. I'm sorry.
No, in 2016. In 2020, I started like settling down, like when Biden won, because I was like, okay, I can breathe. I still kept up with politics, regularly, but it wasn't minute by minute, like push notifications on,
Sure.
which is how it was in 2016. And I saw myself about to fall into those old patterns, and I'm like, I will absolutely burn out. Like I will not be able to sustain that. So I was like, all right, I'll be a little bit more selective in, the so I've been breaking it up into smaller things. And so smaller things, well, this is a big issue when it comes down to it. Like, while I have very strong feelings on, trans people and being able to participate in sport,
Sure.
it is, well, it is a civil right thing. It's not, their immediate safety is in jeopardy. So like it's one of those, I'm not even worried about that particular issue right now, because I'm more concerned about the fact that there are trans people that can now no longer leave your birth certificate and passport gender markers. Like, if you're trying to change it or anything, they will just revoke. They're not giving their passports back, because you have to send in your passport if it's like more than a year out, I think,
Right.
in order to get the new ones. So people had gone to renew their passports, and that takes time, and now they're not getting their passports back, and they're not renewing them either. So it is literally trapping marginalized people in the country so they cannot flee. That is more terrifying and more of a concern
Sure.
than the sport thing. But again,
100%.
I absolutely,
So let me tell you what happened,
okay,
and then we'll get your reaction to it. So,
fair.
recent article I wrote: 5 progressive policies Democrats need fully embrace. Go to my Substack and read it. Yes, it's got a paywall, but you can get by it. You can have a free preview link, so it's very easy to read. California Governor Gavin Newsom started a new podcast, and his first guest was Charlie Kirk. In an attempt to find common ground with Charlie Kirk, hi Franklin, dog slobber all over my arm. Newsom debased himself several times. Oh, I spelled Newsom wrong. Who cares? Debased himself several times, including remarking. Oh my God. Okay, I gotta fix this. Remarking his 13-year-old son was a big fan. And unnecessarily gave ground on issues from trans women and girls in sports to the ridiculous assertion that liberalism as a whole is outdated. Newsom said to Kirk, seriously, Charlie Kirk, give us some advice. Kirk said, get better ideas, Governor.
Christ on a cracker. Okay.
Kirk was using Newsom's own podcast to support the inflammatory talking part. So Kirk asked, would you say no men in female sports? Which, first of all, what a fucking disgusting way to frame the whole thing.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's like asking, well, what is a woman? It's just so fucking disingenuous. That's why I don't answer that question, because you're starting from the standpoint that trans people don't exist and aren't important if you ask that question. So yeah, I'm not going to answer your fucking question. Go fuck yourself. Would you say no men in female sports? Newsom said, I think it's an issue of fairness. It's not. I completely agree with you on that. It's an issue of fairness. It's deeply unfair. Moments later, Newsom partially redeemed himself by pointing out that Republicans were able to weaponize the issue electorally when Kirk protested, not weaponize, shine a light on.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Exactly. Newsom quickly deferred to him, altering his word to highlight. Didn't push back at all when Kirk said 890 trans women had won medals over cisgender women in the past 5 years. There haven't been 890 medals given out over the past 5 years, much less to trans people, of which there's like 10. So if 10 trans people, each of them won 90 medals over the past, like, go fuck yourself. Of course, it's so fucking stupid. A minute later, when Newsom said there are fewer than 10 trans athletes, they just continued on, and Kirk didn't confront him about it at all. Just anyway, so there's everything that happened. I'm going to shut the fuck up now and let the actual LGBTQ person respond instead of my cishet old white ass.
You're not old. Like, we're not that far apart in age. Come on now. But okay, so first off, we'll start with some facts. Like the research is clear. Like, especially if you're talking about competitive level, like professional level sports. If a person has been on hormone replacement therapy for at least, I think it's 2 years, was what it was. I have to remember the exact figure, but there is almost no real difference whatsoever between, a cis woman and a trans woman who has been on hormones for, more than a year or two. There are, the fact of the matter is sport is not fair inherently, because for every Dom, you have a Michael Phelps. Like, you are going to be born, some people are going to be born with more advantages, like Michael Phelps's wingspan and, the way his body processes lactic acid. There are different things that make him an incredible swimmer, and he is top tier. But you can't say that, because of that, he's got an unfair advantage and he can't compete against, other men.
Right.
So, there's just inherent, unfairness in sport in general. And originally, men and women competed against each other, but then the women were beating the men, and their little fifis couldn't handle it, so they made a whole women's division. But that's also another story.
Yeah, we don't like to talk about the original Olympics very much, do we?
No.
Wonder
But
why.
when we're talking about like below collegiate level, like if we're talking about like high school, middle school sports, in middle school, there's not much difference between boys and girls.
Right.
It doesn't matter if they're trans or cis. Like you're talking about children and children. Like I played tackle football with the guys in my neighborhood. Like I was like tiny compared to them, but I still did it,
Sure.
And it's wild to me that they're hyper focused on like middle school and high school when there really isn't, much of a difference between, boys and girls. Fuck. When I was in high school, before the car accident that messed up my knee, there were only 2 guys on the varsity football team that could out leg press me. I had some serious fucking legs from martial arts. Yeah, no, it was, and like they were like big guys.
Right.
So like, some of them, it was like we were within like a small amount, but like it was fun. It was like a competition, and like I had very, very strong legs. But tangent aside, when it comes down to it, like, yeah, I wouldn't have necessarily wanted to be tackled by the linebacker on the varsity football team,
me either.
Considering I'm 5'6" and I weighed like 115 pounds.
Right.
Like maybe it was 120, but whatever. Like,
Sure.
it would not have been a fun time for me. But that's not what we're having happen. And if you'll notice, some of the times where they're like, oh, a man beat a woman in these sports, they'll show a picture of a trans man competing against a cis woman and try to say that, oh, it's a trans beating a woman. And it's like, yeah, he should be competing with the men, but you're forcing him to compete with the women because of how he was born.
Right.
And those are the things that they'll point to. Is like, oh, see the trans, they beat the cis woman. And it's like, yeah, a trans man who is on, masculinizing hormones. So it is like a trans man does have an advantage against a cis woman.
Of course he would.
Because of the hormones.
Sure.
So it's like, but those are the ones they'll point to and try to make it seem like, oh no, that's a trans woman. It's like, no, that is a trans man. And it is so
well, and I think you touched on this a little bit too, but I think it needs to be reiterated that, again, the argument comes from the disingenuous place that women and men are incapable of competing athletically because the man will always win. Because women are inferior in every way that matters, physically. They're not as fast, they're not as strong, they're not as whatever. So in every case, a man will beat a woman. It's like the thing about all the guys who thought they could get a point if they played Serena Williams in tennis. Do you remember that whole thing? They interviewed all those guys about how, I could get 1 point. Motherfucker, you don't understand. Like when I was really into golf, okay? When I was really into golf, I was playing golf 3-4 times a week, and my handicap was like right at scratch. Okay.
Nice.
Yeah. I was playing really well. I could shoot in the 70s all day. I would shoot, I'd shoot maybe a 68 on like a really good day. 68 is 4 under par, guys, on average. Okay. And this is from the back tees. Like this is the longest, like on a really good day, I could shoot a 68. If everything went really, really well, I could beat par by 4. Okay. Tiger Woods on a really, really good day would beat me by about 10 shots. He beat me by 8 shots. He would shoot a 60. He would shoot a 59 or a 60. Because while that doesn't sound like a lot, that difference, I was not good enough to play professionally is my point. Okay. I wasn't good enough to be within the top like 500 in the world, whatever it is on the PGA Tour. No, it's not 500, 150, whatever it is. Okay. I was not good enough for that. I could have probably played on like some of the mini tours, like the, amateur tours. Again, if I'd worked really hard, I wasn't there yet. I'm just saying that's probably would have been the limit of my athletic abilities, would be able to play on like one of the mini tours or something. In no universe would I have ever been able to compete one-on-one against Tiger Woods. Right? The best, who was the best in the world at the time. And I know, again, right now he's not. I know I'm old. But my point is that little bit, those 8 shots between me and Tiger, on a very good day, I'd have shot a 68. On a very good day, Tiger would have shot a 59 or 60. Okay? Those 8 shots are the difference between professional athletes and just people who are kind of good at something. Okay? And the people that are professional athletes are super competitive among themselves, even about how good or bad they are with each other. And like Serena Williams, who's some other great female athletes? Well, Venus, her sister, obviously. Who's the gymnast? Oh my God, her name just went out of my head.
Simone Biles,
thank you. Somebody like that, like really, really great athletes. Annika Sorenstam. If we're gonna stay with golf, let's stay with. She was the greatest at the time. There's been other great female golfers since, but let's just talk about Annika Sorenstam. Annika Sorenstam would have destroyed me as well, but Annika Sorenstam had a lot of trouble playing on the PGA Tour when she would try to compete with the men. She had a lot of trouble. She didn't hit the ball as long and other stuff to be able to play in some of these tournaments. She tried a couple of times and it didn't work out. She would have destroyed me as well, because it's such a narrow little piece of difference in really great athletes. And this idea that all men are better than all women at sports is bonkers to me, because even at my best, when I could go out and shoot 68 sometimes on the course, if I'd played against Annika Sorenstam then, she would have fucking annihilated me. She would have beat the pants off of me by 5, 6, 7, 8 shots, just like Tiger would have. And so this assumption that like, just because I'm a man, if I had competed against a woman, I would have won. I know it for a fact that it's completely and totally stupid. It's disingenuous to the point of being offensive. And yet, that is the argument that they make constantly, is that you can't have trans people in sports with the gender that they actually are, because men are so much better at sports than women all the time, every time. And it's completely and utterly untrue. It will never be true, because as Kitty said, it's such a thin line. Sports is inherently unfair.
That's why things like boxing, tend to be done by weight class because it at least tries to even the playing field a little bit more.
And wrestling
But
too.
yeah, same with wrestling. But sport is inherently unfair. Some people are going to have, faster, they'll have more like fast twitch muscles, or they'll have stronger, like more dense bones,
Broader
or
shoulders. One of the
broader
reasons
shoulders.
I had an advantage in golf is I have broad shoulders. I could
Yeah.
create a bigger arc. Yep.
Yeah, so there are, because no two bodies are the same, no two people are going to compete the exact same. Now, granted, most of it kind of averages out a bit, but you'll get the outliers. You'll get the Usain Bolts, and you'll get the Michael Phelps that they really stand like head and shoulders above the rest. But ultimately, once a person has been on hormones, like I, even as a trans person, like I would not, as a non-binary person, I would not want somebody to just, say, I identify as a woman and then immediately go and compete, because there would be inherent, if they have not been through like hormone therapy and everything, and depending on like the type of sport, like if they want to compete against women in sharpshooting, okay, whatever, like
Sure.
I don't care. Like that shouldn't be gendered anyway, if it's archery or sharpshooting, whatever. But if it's like wrestling, if you have like a 6'6" guy that, just decided the day before, like the lady ballers thing, the diaper dude, God's, what's his name?
Abe Vigoda? I don't know.
No.
Just saying.
He's like a conservative Matt Walsh. Matt Walsh, he did the Lady Ballers thing where he originally was planning it as a
Matt Walsh. Yeah.
documentary.
Right.
He was originally planning it as a documentary, similar to the What is a Woman thing that he did.
What is a woman?
But when he realized
Someone who won't
that
have sex with
can't-
you. That's what a woman is. Go ahead. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
kidding. But when he realized that you can't just say, be a cis man and then just say, all right, I identify as a woman, and then immediately go play in competitive sports, that doesn't happen. And when he realized that, they made it into a fictional comedy movie that is terrible. But they originally had intended it to be a documentary where they were going to shine a light on the craziness of trans in sport, when they're like, oh wait,
full disclosure,
they won't actually let us.
I was gonna do a review on that movie. I tried 3 different times to watch it, to review it. All 3 times I fell asleep.
It's not good.
Like I just didn't even hold my attention. Like I literally just fell asleep. It's just boring. It's incredibly boring.
Funny.
And it makes no sense, and
funny.
you don't really know what's going on.
Yeah, but originally, like I said, it was.
Hey, dude, hold on. I'm sorry, kid. I'm sorry, bro. Calm the fuck down. Don't yell at people. Okay, you're welcome here to like express your opinions and everything, but calm the fuck down. Don't yell at my mods or my regulars, because we will kick you the motherfuck out of here real fucking quick. So watch yourself. Sorry, I'm sorry, Kitty.
Oh yeah, no, that's fine. But yeah, what was I saying? Oh yeah, that it was originally going to be a documentary, but when they realized that that's not how it actually works, they made it into a comedy film.
Right.
And so if you are in like sports and you are competing at a professional level, be it like Olympian or like beyond collegiate, you cannot be a cis man who just goes in one day and says, all right, now I identify as a woman, I want to wrestle against women.
Right. Yeah,
that's not how that works. You have to have gone on hormones and been on them consistently
and real quick,
for
the
years.
NCAA put these rules in place in 2013. They didn't put these rules in place like recently because of all the outrage. This has been a long time that they've had these rules in place. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I just wanted to add that in.
No, I didn't remember the year. I knew it was like the early 2010s, but yeah. So this has been the rule because they're like, okay, we're going to look at the evidence, we're going to look at the documentation, and there's not any slight, like sometimes people will bring up, oh, you have denser bones or, this or that. It's like, okay, but the slight variations that you might find between, a hormone taking trans woman and a cis woman are not any greater than between, a cis woman and a cis woman who just have different body types. Because again, every body is different. and no two people are the exact same, and it
Right.
is such a negligible difference that it doesn't actually equate to anything. It doesn't
Right.
make a difference.
And that's what I was trying to say earlier. Like, I'm saying at my absolute best, at that age, when I was 22-ish, 22 to 25, somewhere around in there, Annika Sorenstam was the greatest woman golfer in the world at the time. And like, if we'd gone out and I'd played my best game, which would have been about a 68, 69, and she'd gone out and played about her best game, which would have been a 59 to 60, she would have annihilated me.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I think I'm taller. I think I'm 2 inches tall. I'm pretty sure she's 5'6", 5'7". I'm 5'9", so I'm like 2 inches taller than her. I'm stronger than her, probably physically. Like, probably if we'd at the time, again, not talking now, talking
In
20
your
years
prime,
ago.
when you're
Right,
20
we're talking
years
20 years
old,
ago.
like-
We're not talking today. I don't know. I've always loved Annika Sorenstam too. I think she's just a great lady. She would have completely demolished me. I had zero chance against her, right? Because she was at that professional level. Now, again, when she was competing against other pros, I'm not saying that I was a professional. I'm saying that me as a man who was very good at something could not compare to somebody who was great at something, right? I'm completely incomparable with her in any way, shape, or form. Probably still now. She could probably still beat the shit out of me at golf. I'm sure she could. I'm positive she could. There was never any point in my life when I could have ever beaten Annika Sorenstam at golf.
Porpoise makes a good point, and I'd like to see more research done on sports like weightlifting, where someone continues practicing to mitigate the effects of HRT on trans women.
That's
sure.
great. That's great.
You know
what the problem is though? That all of those grants that would have paid for that kind of research all just got erased.
Yes.
So I don't know who would run that research. Someone should. It won't be the U.S.
Yeah. But then they followed up with endurance sports have already been settled, which is true.
Yeah.
Like swimming, running, any, like a lot of the, main sports that they say, oh, men can't compete with women. It's like, yeah, it's not men competing with women. It is women competing with women.
Right. Right. Yeah. Anyway, and that's the problem is that's why I haven't done any shows on this in years because anyone who wants to argue about this only wants to argue from really disingenuous places. I have not yet once met anyone. If they're out there, we'll have them on. But I don't believe this person exists. Anyone who believes that, trans women don't belong in sports with women, who argue it from a place that's not disingenuous, who don't argue it from a place that trans people shouldn't exist or that gender ideology is nonsense. Gender is nonsense. What the fuck even is gender? Like, why aren't we called blorplops and flopclops? Like, why isn't that instead of men and women? Like, why is men and women the name? Because God said so or something? Like, it's just, those are the words that we ended up coming out of our little ape mouths. But yeah, if there is somebody out there that's got some sort of angle on this, that's not just, well, trans people don't deserve to exist, I would love to speak with them. My problem is every single time I've delved into this, every single time that the person is against this, it's because they believe that trans people don't deserve to exist. So I would love to talk to somebody who believes that, yes, trans people deserve to exist. We should respect the fact that whatever gender somebody wants to be is valid. If you can have that opinion and also have the opinion that trans women should not be in women and girls sports, trans girls, whatever, we'd love to have you. I'd love to talk to you. But the problem is that every single one of them wants to argue it from a disingenuous viewpoint that trans people don't deserve to exist.
And I mean, before we had, like, we have, studies now. They have done tons of studies on this before it was,
Okay,
removed.
hold on. I'm sorry. Atheist Miracle, I don't know what fucking planet you live on. Have you ever heard of the fucking U.S. government? Because that's what their opinion is. The official opinion of the U.S. government is that trans people don't exist. There is a bill in Texas to make being trans a felony. Don't fucking come on here and lie with your bullshit. You lie one more time in my chat, I will ban you from my chat forever. That is a fucking lie that you just said. I'm sorry, Kitty.
No, you're totally fine. Like, honestly, it warms my heart when I get to see angry dumb, especially when it's righteous angry dumb. But no, because you don't get angry often. So, like,
well, it's a soft point.
Yeah,
Hi,
but
Franklin. Hi.
Yeah, give him snuggles.
I got some licks on my arm.
All right, see.
Anyway, thanks for most of you for watching. You know what I love? Custard-filled donuts with a little bit of chocolate on top.
So, like Bavarian cream or like Boston cream?
More Bavarian cream. I don't like the chocolate on top when it's Boston cream. I mean, I'll eat it, but I prefer it with Bavarian.
See, me, I am a chocolate glazed and a French curler bitch.
And
like, I will get one of each.
And these are the kind of topics that we cover.
But I want my coffee black as sin and strong enough to wake the dead.
So, for those of you who may remember my ex-wife, who's fine, by the way, this is her coffee cup. Okay, it's a picture of Edgar Allan Poe. It says, "Pour me a cup."
That's adorable.
3 times now. 3 times. She has come to my place of residence to get this cup specifically. All 3 times has gotten other things.
But not that cup.
But not the cup. So I have adopted the fucking cup. If she wants to come get the cup, it's her cup. I'm just saying this in public, okay? I'm not holding the cup hostage.
You're giving it shelter and sanctuary until it can go back to its forever home.
But like, if I have the cup, this is the cup I'm gonna drink out of, right? Yeah. Like, what other cup? If you had this cup in your house, this is the cup that you would drink coffee out of.
Of course.
Or tea. I've had tea out of this.
Although I do have one cup that.
Oh my god! I just choked. Oh my god! I'm sorry. I totally missed that because I started choking. You do have what?
I have this one cup over there that it says emotional support pour.
Okay,
like is basically the whole, a rich person like needs to adopt an emotional support pour, just like every Slytherin has their emotional support Hufflepuff.
It's true. That's actually very true. By the way, Hogwarts Legacy, a fantastic video game. I just want to put that out there. I love it. I know a lot of people don't like it very much. I love that game. I really do. And Sirona is a really great character, and you should do her storyline. If you haven't played it yet, you don't know who Sirona is, you should play it and make sure that when you meet Sirona, you do her storyline. It's very good. It's funny. You guys are the new flat earther and anti-evolutionist. Evidence means nothing. You're a joke, right? Like, this is a parody. Just make it up and yell nonsense.
It's a Poe. It's got to be a Poe.
All right. Guys, we're going to leave you on that note because I don't fucking,
brilliant.
Oh,
shit.
I don't fucking know what the fuck that just was. Thanks most of you for thanks to the rest of you for watching. There's one that I just hope forgets we exist. Bet you can guess who it is. But I love you guys, and we'll see you next time. Franklin just sat down on my foot.
Oh, well, then you can't.